Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, everybody. I want to start off right where Ellen left off. She talked about 3 aspects of approaching social networking, professional networking, building your network, giving, receiving. One of the common mistakes, assumptions that I see people make inadvertently is they actually try and combine these things right off the bat. And the 2 they try and combine is they try and combine receiving with building my network. Right? Who's relevant to me, and how can I, in a very mercenary way, without thinking that I'm mercenary, go and connect with all the people who I need something from or might need something from. And what it leads to are things like you see on the screen. This is an actual screenshot. The numbers are actually bigger since I grabbed this screenshot. There's a group in Chicago. Wouldn't it be great if 26,000 of us joined forces and connected and shared our networks? Wouldn't it be great if I just downloaded the Yellow Pages right into my phone? It would have the same impact. The question is, what happens then? Now what? How do I receive something from this network? I call you up and I say, hey, I notice you've got a connection who I'd like to meet. Why don't you introduce us? And you know what you say? You say, no way. You click the button and now I have a real relationship with that person. I'm not sure that I want to risk that relationship for you, Jason, who I've never met, who just found my name and clicked through. Or, yeah, fine, I'll connect you because I don't know you, I don't know the person you want to meet. Have at it. Either way, there's no value. These are truly 3 discrete things. So, well, what are we to do? If we're to take advantage of social media, if we're really going to get the value then from social media, how do we do this? And the concept that I want to instill in you tonight is the idea that it's not about connections. To Ellen's point, it's about relationships. And specifically, when you're establishing a foundation in social media, it's about earning the follow-up. It's not about the first touch point, it's about the second touch point. You've got to earn the right to call that person and make the ask when you're ready to receive from your network. And you do that by building a network to which you can give. It looks like this. There's 2 steps to it. The first is you have to be credible. Right? When you're online and you're checking people out, when other people are online checking you out, they're not looking at you because they were actually looking for your autobiography at Amazon, couldn't find it, and your LinkedIn profile was the next best thing. They're looking at your LinkedIn profile because they have a professional problem and they're wondering if you can solve it. So the first thing you need to do is you need to be credible. You need to actually establish your ability to solve a problem and convey to the world, this is the problem I solve, so people can opt into you. That's the first thing you need to do. And there's 3 elements of this that we're going to talk about in a minute. The first is you have to convey the right content. The second is, that's your message. The second is you have to convey the right context. You need to put the right wrapper around that message. And the third is you need to be consistent. The message and the method of delivery need to match, internally and externally. It needs to match with my expectations of you. Once you've done that, right, and that's no different than getting dressed for a networking event. Before you come to the networking event, you put your pants and shirt on. Right? To not establish your credibility before trying to network, you're going to attract the people that you would attract if you walked in here in ripped jeans and a t-shirt. It's probably not the crowd ultimately that's going to yield big value for you. So once you've established credibility, that's the foundation, then we move to the second phase. Now we're building relationships, not connections, relationships. Relationships are about trust and reach. The tools of social media allow us to extend our reach in ways that we never thought imaginable before, but we're still human. No trust, no nothing. And there's nothing that technology gives us or probably will ever give us that will substitute for the human interaction and our ability to build trust with one another. So we've got to maximize our reach, we've got to maximize trust. There's a third element here, which I'm going to get into. It's a strange concept, strangely worded concept called professionalism. This new mixing of the professional and personal worlds. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But first, I want to spend just a moment talking about credibility. I want you to take a look at the profile I'm about to put up. This is a summary only. It's not a full profile. And I want you to ask yourself, would you connect with this person? Okay? It's not a full profile. It's just the summary. But think about this. This is the profile summary. This is what this individual chose to write about themselves. It's not their job history. Right? It's not the stuff they can't control. This is entirely within their control. Just take a look at it. Would you return this person's call? Has this person earned the follow-up? Probably not. This violates all the principles of content and context and consistency. You don't even have to read it. You can tell by a look. And you can see I substituted out the picture. You might recognize the jacket. Sideways scissors gang, flashing the signals in the photo. Looks a little different when I'm on stage versus in a photo flashing that sign with my Oakleys on. But the point is, content and context matter. You look at this, the content is lost in this huge blob of text. The context, well, the context is, if you can read it, you see it's a chronological life story. There's no prioritization. There's no sense of, I care about you. There's simply a sense of, I'm going to barf my story to the world. I think I'm fascinating. I think you'll take the time to digest it. And unfortunately, this is what a lot of people do when they jump onto social media with the eye toward, I want to receive first. Blah. And now I'm just going to take. So what does it look like if you build your network with an eye towards giving? Well, then your summary would actually have 3 elements. And I don't have a slide showing you what a good summary looks like because I've done this now for a while. They come in all shapes and sizes. But they all follow 3 principles. The first is they tell me what you do. The content is very clear. I had a pipe break in my house a couple years ago. I didn't care about passionate. I didn't care about dynamic problem solver with 16 years of flow-based experience with liquids. I cared about, are you a plumber? I want to know what you do. Your content should tell me specifically what you do. The second thing that a successful profile summary will have is context. Right? I don't want to read that you're passionate and energetic. What I want to do is I want to read a summary that I walk away and say, wow, that person seems passionate and energetic. So we want to convey those kinds of concepts, what you do that's special, how you're better than everybody else. That's your context, and we want to convey that not with words, but the way in which the message is conveyed. Tips on how to do that. You have a lifetime of experience behind you. Don't list it. If you have a lifetime of experience and you're confident in your experience, you will approach your experience from the highest level possible. And you will say, I have run this company and understand what that means to run a division, to run a company, to operate. I had a client who actually, he was writing he wanted to project an image, a C-level image. And he had a line in his summary statement where he said, I've run all facets of an organization, including the administration function, accounting, finance, marketing, operations, and strategic thinking. And the first thing I said to him was, there's not a strategic thinker on the planet, a true strategic thinker, who would put it that way. Number one, strategic thinkers don't think in lists. They think in, I ran the company, and including all facets of operations. Secondly, a strategic thinker wouldn't start with administration. So take a look at your context and ask yourself, what's the context? What's the way in which I've packaged this? And then ask yourself, is it consistent? Does it feel right? Is it consistent with who I am? Is it consistent with what people want from me when they look at me? And you probably are not a good judge of consistency, so ask other people to read drafts of your summaries. The edit buttons are very easy to find. This is the heart and soul of your profile. You get this right, and all of a sudden I read your history with this as my frame. And I start interpreting all the facts about you through the lens that you've created for me. So take the time to build your profile, get dressed, establish your credibility, focus on the profile summary. Now that brings us to connectivity. Now I want to build relationships. I'm dressed, I'm ready to go. Let's go to the ball, let's meet some people. This is my in-map. It turns out that there's actually some science to the way that we should create relationships. There's a lot of science to it. There's 2 guys I want to call out in particular. One is Mark Granovetter, who's a sociologist at Stanford University. Very smart guy. He came up with this theory called the strength of weak ties. He actually looked at people about 40 years ago, and he said, which group is going to be more successful? The people who really just hang out with a core group of close friends, or the people who have a core group of close friends and some extended reach, some acquaintances? And what he found was having acquaintances put individuals in contact with other groups of people, and that allowed them to be successful. So this is my map, and those different colors represent different things, but according to Granovetter, the power of my network doesn't come from being in the orange blob or in the blue blob. It comes from having different color blobs where I am the connective tissue between them. So we want reach. We want different people. You're changing careers. We want to hold on to the people from your first career before we move into the second career. We want some neighbors. We want some friends. We want some acquaintances. We want some schoolmates. We want different people from different groups. But now we've got Robin Dunbar sitting on our other shoulder. Dunbar's an anthropologist, and he has discovered that the human condition is severely limited by our glitchy brains. And one of the glitches we have is that we can only manage about 150 relationships at a time. So when we think about trust, there's only about 150 active relationships that we can manage at a time. You can manage a larger network, but your brain starts parking people into the recesses in order to access the 150 that are most important. Ever not be able to think of somebody's name? Oh, I know somebody at that organization. Right? Your brain has bumped that person from the 150 and now needs to recall it, and so it's figuring out who else to bump, and it's doing that shift. Well, what does that mean? To me, based on what I've seen, it means you should approach your network as a relationship-first phenomenon. You should look to build relationships with people, with human beings, before you classify them as helpful to you in a professional capacity, before you determine that, look, you're just my neighbor, so you fit in my neighbor box. Tools like LinkedIn, it's like augmented reality, right? If I go to a networking function and I had sort of this list of information about you over your shoulder that I could read while I'm talking to you, it's your LinkedIn profile that I'd want to know, because it's going to help me establish a relationship with you as a human. And if I can do that first, if I can just understand that my brain doesn't sift through these 150 spots based on professional or personal, it just does it based on some automatic process that we don't yet understand, then I can say, okay, I accept that. So for the time being, when I'm building my network, I'm going to put my professional and my personal contacts all in a blender, and I'm going to build a relationship with a person. And as that relationship develops, on the second conversation, on the third conversation, now I'll start to sort through and figure out, are you friend, are you professional, are you a long-term contact, are you a short-term contact? That's how I'm seeing successful people start to build their connections. And when you couple that with credibility, all of a sudden you've got a network for you. So you don't even need to know the question you want to ask your network. You're there. It's there for you. And one day when you need it, maybe to find a job, maybe to change careers, maybe to find a vendor, maybe to find a customer, your network's in place. People know what to expect from you because you've answered what problem you've solved. You've been consistent in your message. You've got a variety of different networks where you're the connective tissue. And now you can reach out to those networks, and they can be connective tissue for you. So just to recap real quickly, focus less on connections. We get all caught up in the game theory. We all want to check into more places than everybody on Foursquare. We want the most Twitter followers. We want the most likes. We want the most connections. We want to get to the 500 plus. And it's natural, right? You're on LinkedIn. You have 24 connections. You're feeling pretty good. And then your buddy has 56. And I need 57, right? And you get to 57, but he's moved up to 82. You're like, I need 82. Right? We get wrapped up in it. Remember, it's about the second touch. It's about earning the follow-up. And the way we do that is, number one, by establishing credibility, and number two, by building real relationships. So hopefully that provides a little bit more of a framework, takes what Ellen did, helps us execute it a little bit, and will provide some fodder for some great questions. Thank you very much.